Hey everyone, it's Jeannie here. Today it is my joy to be joined by recording artist Crowder. His music is critically acclaimed. We all worship to his music. We have a good time with his music, but today I'm here to talk about some festive music that he has on the horizon. His new holiday album, Milk and Cookies. I mean, I'm just loving this whole milk theme that you got going on. Crowder, welcome.
Thank
I
you.
should say
Thank you
that
for
first.
having me. Absolutely. Yeah. My mom doesn't think we're really calling it milk and cookies. Not until it's out is she's like, you're not calling it milk and cookies, are you? I'm like, absolutely we're calling it milk. Like this title writes itself, you get the milk and
Right.
honey, now we're on to the milk and cookies. It's like,
Yeah, I
and
mean,
it's
it's
fun.
genius.
It's a fun
It's
title and it's a fun album. It's pretty hilarious. We were laughing the entire time that we were making it. So I hope it hits everybody in a joyful way.
You are amazing. I mean, listening
You are
to
kind.
your preludes and things like that, like you're hilarious, which we if anyone follows him on Instagram, you know this is true
We're
because
keeping it light.
yeah, I love it. And I need it. We need that. I
Absolutely.
love to reshare your stuff to all
That's
my people because it's fun and we need that.
I'm
But
with you.
yeah, talk about the importance of milk and cookies to milk and honey, right? And obviously I'm talking symbolically.
Yes,
So the importance of Christmas, as well as acknowledging the promises of God that you always talk about and we worship him for. But why is it important to kind of release these sounds of thanksgiving and praise to God about him being born and existing?
that's awesome. Well, one thing I went into this album knowing that there's not for everybody, the holidays are not like the best time ever. There's a lot of sadness wrapped up into it. A lot of it, and most of that has to do with either people we've lost or the lack of being able to get home or no home to get back to, family issues that keep us separated from one another. And to me, the whole miracle and the magic of Christmas, the Christmas story, is relationship. It's built on relationship. And so I think that pain that we feel and that sense of being separated, it's perfect mirror for what the story's about. It's about the created being at distance from their maker, and for God
Wow.
making a way back into communion with him. And so to me, the heart of Christmas is about relationship, and even the pain and sorrow that is felt points to that. And then for a lot of the folks though, it's the best time of the year. It's like, oh my goodness, I remember as a kid laying in the shag carpeting of our den in front of the console stereo. My parents had this record player that was humongous. It was like a piece of furniture, and
Yeah. Yeah.
stereo speakers in the piece of furniture had the
I
deal
get
where
it.
you could put like 8 albums on top of each other and it would automatically drop. I mean, it was it was
Wow.
like a mixture between science and magic, and it was just the best. And I would lay in the shag rug looking at the inserts of the album, Christmas albums, and I couldn't read, but I loved the pictures of things, and they're just such fond memories of music and gifts. And I was going to hopefully get that, GI Joe that I'd been pointing to all year
Yeah.
long. That there was so much. My parents made it really fun, but at the same time, Christmas Eve, every Christmas Eve, we're sitting around as a family, and my dad's reading Luke 2 and telling us the story of this baby in a manger, that's this God child and who's come to make a way. And so we had Santa Claus and Jesus sitting right next to each other, and we had a manger little nativity scene full of GI Joes and Star Wars figures. There wasn't a divide for us as kids between the playful side and the spiritual side. And so that's what I've really tried to do with this milk and cookies thing is keep the story that's the best story that's ever been told on the planet right up against these mythological ideas of what it looks like to grow up hoping that there's going to be something in the stocking when you wake up in the morning.
Mm.
And I feel like most of the stuff that we experience around this season point to what is the miraculous, that there was the best gift ever given, and it was to make a way back into relationship with our creator. And that's a story we can sing about, and I've tried to put some earthly stuff in it to help us point to those things that we know and experience year after year.
Yeah, I love it. I got to listen to some of the tracks ahead of time, and it's just so good. It's, your style of music, the way you deliver, it's just amazing. I really like you have some originals as
Mm,
well. And I think Thanksgiver, I'm assuming is an original one. I've never heard it
it
before.
is.
It's
That's
like,
true.
how would
That's
I
true.
actually know? I was like, wait, do I know every Christmas song that exists?
Right.
And is this an original or not? I'm just
That's a
kidding.
fair point. It is
But I
original.
figured it felt like a Crowder, like
Yeah.
worshipful moment. But I love that. And can we kind of talk to that, the importance of remaining in that posture of thanksgiving and
Thankful.
being
Yeah.
grateful? Because I think we're just in a time in the world where the world is inundated. We're inundated with things that we see that is kind of making us feel ungrateful or
Mm.
like, it's just hard out here.
Yes.
So talk to us, the believer, and how important that message of, being thankful to the one who gives
Oh,
everything is.
there's so many story after story in scripture has to do with whatever you've been given, you're responsible for. And what you're given might not look like what your neighbor's got. And in scripture, you're never asked, you're never, it's never, the moral of the story is never, well, you should have what your neighbor has. It's more about what do you have in front of you, what's been put in your hands, and what are you going to do with it. And so the widow's mite, that's the bigger gift than the dude that's flush and able to drop, a new hospital. But the new hospital is great, but it might not have meant anything at all because he's so
Right.
flush. But so the circumstances that we're in, where we're born into, the neighborhood that we're living in, the school we went to, all of that is pretty irrelevant when you're reading about what it looks like to follow Jesus. We're asked to like deny self. That's hard to do. When you hear people starting to, get theirs, you immediately see that that's antithetical to what is so countercultural in Jesus, that's not
Yeah.
what he asks us to he asks us to lay down self, and we don't see a lot of that. And I think that's a beautiful part about what it means to follow Jesus is you stand out really quickly when the stuff that you know is in your hands you're freely giving and also super grateful for. That is a posture and attitude that we need to foster within the church because it will look really compelling to anyone who doesn't know and believe in the person of Christ. And that's been what has been transformative year after year in the Christmas season. Our church and the community I'm a part of, so much of it is about what do you have and what can you give. And that I love that you're in a season where the best gift ever to give your son is a pretty significant ask. You know what I
Oh
mean?
yeah.
And
Yeah.
I don't even think I don't have anything. I don't have kids, and I can't imagine what a thing would be like to do that. It's so to me, it's always a wonderful time of year to allow inward inward critique and what it is that I'm holding on to a little more tightly than I should, and what can I give, and who can I surprise with what I've been given. So
Yeah, that's beautiful. And it helps us stay in the joy of it all,
totally.
when we're focused on other things and not being grateful, it just sucks us dry. So that's awesome.
I think it's
And
telling that when you give something, even if you're not there for somebody to open up, you drop something in the mail or you leave something somewhere for somebody to find later. You don't have to be there when it happens, but there's a joy that happens, and you're like, oh man, they're gonna flip over this. That feeling, you're
yeah.
not manufacturing that, and compared to when you're given something, it's maybe even better. The feeling you get when you give is something that, as I said, it's not manufactured. It's just something that's true in people. And I think getting to experience that in a season where that's so much of the focus, is pretty cool.
I love that you don't only give us these, really reflective original songs and then you reimagine original classics in your Crowder style, but you give us some funny stuff too.
It's
Like
pretty
the
fun.
Ballad of Mrs. C, right? Mrs. Claus, she's sick
Yeah,
of the beard.
she's so sick of the
Um,
beard.
oh, how can we relate? I have a bearded husband as well, so that's
That's
hilarious.
hilarious.
But I wanted to talk about because the lyrics were really good, coming from you're a male, so it's
Uh-huh.
interesting to hear you sing these things from, and it's like total female things that we do feel, you know. But talk about, I'm gonna bring it more
Yeah.
to well-rounded, you know, anybody. The weariness of doing, you know, something as grand as what, you know, Santa Claus and Mrs. Claus do once a year, right? You're a minister of music.
Yeah.
I'm a minister as well. I'm a pastor's wife, and I'm also a minister of music.
Uh-huh.
And I do this. So I do a lot of things. But you
Yes.
know, we give, right? We
Mhm.
we give, and like you were saying, like there's such a reward in giving, right? It's such a
Mhm.
reward in doing that. But talk about that weariness that does come. Like we hear it with this song with Mrs. C. She's like, I'm tired of the cold. I'm tired of my husband not being around. I'm tired of, you know, having to work
Yeah.
so hard to do this every year.
Totally.
You know, you can relate in the sense of you give of yourself a lot.
It's
Talk
definitely
about
an analog,
not,
yes.
yeah, not being, talk about not being weary in well
Yeah.
doing.
Well, I think you gotta pull away, that the end of that tune, they're headed off to Mexico to just chill for a bit, shave off the beard, get back in that sunshine, soak it in, and don't worry, he'll be back around. It really was. I got to do this by helping start a church. I was on staff for 16 years there while the Crowder band music stuff was taking off, and man, it was a lot to carry. You're on the road all the time, but we were back at church every Sunday.
Mhm.
We didn't have a lot of people on staff, so I'm cleaning toilets and picking who's leading our Sunday school classes.
Whew,
It was a
I
lot.
feel you. I feel
Yeah,
you.
and so I think there's a balance that comes with relationships as well. You're talking about something in a fun way, but man, it's tough to be working together, living together, trying to model what it means to be following Jesus, and in a public way. You're up on the and everybody thinks, oh, they've got it figured out. They're what a great couple these folks are. And man, it's tough in the household. It's cold sometimes, and you've got to choose to make time to foster stuff that you can't give if you don't have anything, if the well's dry. And
Yeah.
to find that rhythm is a difficult thing. And so this was a fun way to announce that, yeah, it's not, as you know, and you said, it's like it gets hard. You got to plow through some stuff when you don't feel like plowing through it. And as I said, self-sacrifice is so much of what we're called to. So it's not always like, man, this feels great to be doing this right now. A lot of times it doesn't. And at the same time, when you know that you're called to something, you give everything you got to it.
Mhm.
And yet we're following somebody who was like, hey guys, y'all chill over here. I'm gonna go over there. I'll meet you on the other side of the water. So we were following somebody that knew how to model what it means to pull
It's true.
away, and to find that Sabbath rhythm is, I think, necessary to get through. And so that this is a fun way to acknowledge that you got to have a pace and a rhythm, and Sabbath is not something to just go about flippantly. It's in the design of the system for a reason.
Mm.
God
That's so
rested
good.
on the seventh day, and I ain't him. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
I need
Right.
probably
None of
3 days.
us.
So he gets one, I gotta have at least 3 or 4.
I like that. Yeah, I like that. So true. That's awesome, Crowder. What do you want people to take away from the album? And we can wrap up here.
Yeah.
There's like a message or anything that you really want, you know, for us folk to get. What would that be?
That there's that relationships available, is one that you've been in, that God's been in pursuit of you since the moment you got here. And that is beautiful to be reminded of. And hopefully that those things that you feel, the pains that you feel, the struggle that you feel, all points back to the truth of how he's made us, which is to be in communion with him. And that longing isn't to be ignored or neglected, or like, hey man, pull your stuff together. No, it's an indication that the way that you've been made is it's true, that we're made to be in relationship with him and his other creator people. So that part I think is hopefully what will resonate with folks when they hear the album. And it's fun, as you said, we're keeping it light too. Say some heavy
Yeah.
things in a fun way.
You can do movies and stuff like that. You're so creative, and you know how to like Seriously, you have like this gift on how to deliver these funny things that still, some of them are still deep and all that. It's really amazing. Anyway,
Well, thank you.
just
That's really
adding
kind.
that on the side
I appreciate that.
there.
It's really kind.
But thank you so much, Crowder. We really appreciate what you do, your music, your heart for God, and also the lightheartedness that you bring to it as well. Trust me, it's
Well,
great to have just that balance. And continue to go be awesome.
you're awesome.
Uh,
Thank you. That's too kind, as I said. And good to see you. And hope you
yeah.
have a wonderful rest of the day and that you guys have a great Christmas as well.